Welcome, everyone. We are so happy you could all be here tonight to celebrate the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, all our advancements, and all of you, our CF community, our volunteers, donors, and sponsors. And to everyone watching from home, like I said last year, I'm sure there's millions of people watching all over the world right now. So hello to you too. Up on the slide, if we can go to the next slide for a second. I just want to tell you a little bit about, it was on the agenda. Can we go to the agenda slide? Just so you know the order of how things are going to go tonight, gives you a little bit of a preview up here. And we should be done by around 8:30. So we keep it moving, but we also have a lot of fun. Tonight, we celebrate all of you, our CF community, all the CF families, and all the individuals with CF, as well as everybody who helps us. We are really excited to have 3 guest speakers tonight. Cara Satolino, a mom to Cece who has CF, Gia Kuhn, and Dr. Sam Pope. To kick off the evening, let's start with a short video. What a great video. It really talks to how wonderful the CF community is and all the progress that's been made over all of these years. I'd like to mention the Connecticut chapter staff team. I believe everyone's in the room. If you could just do a quick stand, just so people know who you are in case they have questions after. Pam Chudzik, our Associate Executive Director, is over there. We have Diane Perillo up here in the front. Amy Page is over here, and Jamie Delandro. And did I miss anyone? Speak now or forever hold your peace. You already know me. Here I am. I don't even know. I think I skipped over introducing myself, but I'm Dawn Dorez Harris. I'm the Executive Director of the Connecticut chapter. And in the 29 years I've been working at the CF Foundation, even including at the national office, I can't even tell you the progress that has been made. It's almost unthinkable the way things were back then to the way they are now. It is just really inspirational, and thank goodness that all that progress has been made, because really need it, as you all know. And it's just heartwarming to have been able to see all of that. And I know a lot of you here in the audience and watching from home have been in this fight for so long, and we really do appreciate that. And we're not going to stop until we're done and until we find a cure for every single person with CF, no matter what their mutation is. And you'll probably hear that a few times, because that is the ultimate goal, and we will get there. The Board of Directors, I really appreciate all that the Board of Directors do all year. If you're a member of our board, I know many are in the audience. Can you just stand to be recognized for a moment, please? '24 year in review. We always like to announce what we achieved And there was many things, not all financial, but I always like to mention the financial because we raised over 1.2 million in the Connecticut chapter for total support and revenue gross. And that's thanks to all of you that took part in any way in events, in major giving, and in anything. We truly appreciate that. A lot of you know we have several different events throughout the year. There's really something for everyone. We have everything from Breathe Team, which is you can run the New York Marathon, you can run the marathon in Berlin, Germany. It is truly an incredible program. And we have the Connecticut's Finest event that is for, it used to be really young professionals, but it's a professional event and people are loving the Finest event. We sell out almost every year. Great Strides, everyone's probably heard of that because it's our cornerstone event in Walkathon. We have a wonderful golf tournament named after our beloved Paul Drury, and that's changing into a regular golf format this year. So it's going to be the traditional golf tournament, and we'd love for anyone that's a golfer to get involved or for you to tell your friends. We have Rose Up, and we also have Rose Ball, which is our black tie optional gala. We have our major giving program, and of course, a lot of you will hear about annual fund and legacy giving as well throughout the year. We'd love you to get involved if you would like to, if you're not already involved in one of those events. We also have some key chapter needs that we wanted to tell you about. If you could introduce us to your company or any corporate sponsorship leads, matching gifts are always very important and help us accelerate toward the cure. If you have a corporate connection of any kind or a business lead to let us know about that wants to learn about our mission and how they can get involved, you could help us recruit new corporate, family, civic, or community teams for Great Strides or for our other events. And you could join an event committee, which we call volunteer leadership team. We always need people for that. So please see one of us or let us know at any time if you're interested. We do have some incredible programs to help the CF community and also for ways for people to get engaged. We have CF Foundation Cares, and we have Tomorrow's Leaders. Tomorrow's Leaders is our young professionals event, or campaign, I should say, where it's basically networking and professional development. So if you know any young professionals that would like to get involved with us, Tomorrow's Leaders is the way to go. We also have Grampians, which is for not just people that are grandparents of people with CF, but also people that might be, we say grandparent-like. For example, it might be a great aunt or uncle or a cousin. So it doesn't just have to be someone that is strictly a grandparent to someone with CF, but there are a lot of those as well. We do things like Grampians breakfast and Grampians coffees, and sometimes the Grampians like to come to our Great Strides and different events as well, which is wonderful. So those are our programs, a few of them. And next, I have the pleasure to introduce someone very special, somebody that is really like family to us now. She's been involved for over 9 years, and she and her family have a Great Strides team in Glastonbury, and she is a fierce CF advocate. She's also recently become a part of our board of directors. She is a friend, a wife, a teacher, a role model, and a loving mother to her 4 wonderful children, Sam, Luke, Gabe, and of course, our 2024 CF star, who's going to be featured tonight, Cecilia, nicknamed Cece. Kara, will you please come up to the stage?
Because you know I'm all about that bass, no trouble. I'm all about that bass, no trouble. I'm all about that bass, no trouble. I'm all about that bass, bass. Yes.
I need all of them.
Oh, yes, there's a lot.
Thank goodness there's 12 waters right there. Okay. I won't talk long, I promise. Thank you for coming tonight. I'm honored to be here to support the amazing and powerful cystic fibrosis community this evening. Many of you have a similar story or you love someone who does. You're here for a reason, even if you don't have a DNA connection. My personal reason is my daughter, Cecilia, who is bright, happy, smart, funny, and wildly athletic. She's been on the move since she could crawl, and nothing, not even CF, has been able to slow her down. Cece is 9.5 years old, and when she was about a month, we received a call from the foundation asking to stop by and introduce themselves. It was actually perfect timing because our two older boys had decided to hold a lemonade stand that day, and they were going to stop by the day they were going to stop by so that they could raise money to get Cece a cure. That visit started a beautiful relationship for our family and the foundation. In May, we will walk for our 11th time, and each year, Team Cecilia grows bigger. Now that our children are older, their friends and families join us, and the sea of Team Cecilia shirts at each walk reminds us of how truly loved and supported our family and our Cecilia are. When Cece was a bit younger than 2, we were told there was enrollment for a 2 to 6-year-old Kaleido trial and she may qualify. My husband George and I were very unsure about whether or not we wanted to enroll her. We didn't know what it would entail or if it would be safe. And if you know me, you know that the worries about all things take over, and this was keeping me up at night. After lots of conversations with other CF families, her amazing care team, who's here tonight, and the foundation, we decided to move forward and enroll her. It was an amazing experience. The visits were long, but the nurses and doctors were wonderful, and they truly made her feel special. She sat through blood draws, eye exams, sweat tests, and we waited a lot. We were lucky that she was able to gain access to a modulator earlier than she would have had she not been enrolled. And now, because of hers and other participants living with CF, that modulator is approved for babies at 1 month old. We are lucky that Cecilia is able to take Kaleido, but our mission isn't done until there's a cure, and we still have 10% of our CF community who are waiting for their turn. We are not done yet. I'd like to end my little piece of the evening with a quote from one of the best speakers I've ever been lucky to hear. Mike Beatty, father to CF fighter Piper, once said, "We are genetic draftees in an army we didn't want to join for a disease that takes pride in being hard to pronounce." Thank you to everyone here tonight, whether you're a draftee, as Mike said, or someone who loves one. We are so grateful for your help in making CF stand for Cure Found. Thank you. That was fantastic.
Yes. Don't go anywhere, Kara. We still need you up here just for a minute. That was really wonderful. And thank you for sharing some of your family story and Cece's story. So Cece, I don't know exactly where you're sitting because it's just such a big sea of people this year, which is fantastic, but this is your moment. So get ready. So you heard a little bit about Cece's story, and between lemonade stands and incredible, mighty, Great Strides team and fundraising and just really being a role model on how you live your life, we are so excited to give you this very special award tonight. And it's called the CF Star Award. And we have a special little gift for you as well. So we'd love you to come up to the stage to get this special award. Congratulations, Cece. Come on up.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sometimes these people take a break. I feel I could go to space. With the air, but I don't care, baby, by the way. Because I'm happy I'm alone. If you feel like a room is out of room. Because I'm happy I'm alone. If you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy.
What a beautiful, smart, and poised young lady. The sky is the limit for Cece. And we gave her a little necklace with a rose on it since it represents 65 roses and the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. So anyway, thank you, Cece and Kara. I now have the pleasure of introducing another special guest who came in here tonight for this special meeting. And her name is Gia Kuhn, and she has been a very dedicated team member, I should say, for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation for many years and has become a wonderful friend as well. Gia is the individual giving officer for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, and I have the pleasure of turning over the microphone to her now.
There's a water right there.
Thank you, Dawn. Good evening, everyone. It's really such a pleasure to be here with all of you tonight. Such incredible supporters and such dedicated and knowledgeable um, volunteers. Um, Thanks again, Dawn, for putting on such a beautiful evening, and to your team. It's just great. Can we give them a round of applause? The photo that was taken that on the screen here that was taken over 30 years ago, and thanks to you and our predecessors, wow, how things have changed from this picture from the 1960s. The foundation's mission has evolved and will continue to over time, yet curing cystic fibrosis has always been and will continue to be at the core of what we do. In fact, our mission is crystal clear to promote all people with CF an opportunity to lead long, fulfilling lives by funding research, the very best research, and advancing high-quality care. Ultimately, we want the cure, like all of you, I'm sure. So tonight, I want to talk a little bit about a dream that we have, a dream that inspires us, but will only be realized through action. And this is a photo of Jordan, and we have a dream that Jordan will have a successful career and that Nick will win a Grammy and that little Ella will grow up and one day have children of her own. CF is a complex and time-consuming disease, as many of you in the room know. It's caused by a defective CFTR gene that produces that thick, sticky mucus in the lungs and affects the pancreas and other organs. It really is a full-body disease. In the lungs, the mucus clogs the airways and traps bacteria. So bacterial infections happen, lung damage occurs, and oftentimes respiratory failure. We want the best outcomes for everyone in our community, free of these complications. And we've made really great progress. So there are now 40,000 people in the United States that are living with cystic fibrosis. It's about 160,000 worldwide, and that number is going to continue to grow as people now are living longer, which is something to celebrate. CF touches more people than I think many of us may have realized. 1 in 31 people are carriers of the CF gene. And thanks to our work, collective everyone in the room here, the median age, our life expectancy, has grown by 30 years. And so a child that is born between 2019 and 2023 is expected to live a median of 61 years of age. And I think that's worth celebrating. We have to celebrate that, but median doesn't mean everyone, right? Because that's not happening with everyone. And today there is still no cure for cystic fibrosis. You know, with the advent of the modulator therapies, the disease that once really hurt our children before they reached school age is now a disease of adults, which is another thing to celebrate. We have more of our population that are adults, as you know, you can see on the screen. Lung function and nutritional status are better than they've ever been. And the number of people with CF requiring a transplant, I mean, people were on the transplant list and they were removed once they were put on the Trikafta modulator. We have a Trikafta baby boom that's happening, so a lot to celebrate. One of the things that came up recently at our national annual meeting is the new modulator, Alyftrek. And I am going to let, since Dr. Pope is going to be speaking, talk a little bit more about that. But we're excited to have another option for our community. So what I think we have come to say at the foundation is these modulators, they have been life changers. You know, they have changed everyone's life, but they're not game enders yet, right? We're not quite there yet. we're going to continue to push for the frontier of science to develop the new therapies and ultimately a cure. And we're doing this. I don't know how many of you knew that we have a 26,000 square foot laboratory, and we're working very, very hard on genetic therapies for especially those with our nonsense and rare mutations and splice mutations that don't benefit from the current modulator therapies. So that's about 8% of our population. And we feel like if we can get that group with a genetic cure, that's gonna it's gonna be the cure for everyone ultimately. So we need you to stick by us, by our side while we do this. We want you to join us. This is transformative, right? We've got here with the modulators. We're still not there. We're not at the finish line yet. So you can help us end this disease. And I know how dedicated you are and that you'll be with us. This slide represents our pipeline from multiple sides. And I was just talking with someone earlier during cocktail hour, and I said, when I joined the organization about 13 years ago, we didn't have a pipeline. I mean, this robust pipeline, and I hope you can acknowledge that it is a nice, robust from left to right. You can see the genetic therapies that are already in the pipeline. And what we're talking about is not science fiction. There are 7 trials currently enrolling. There's next generation modulator therapies, and then there's going to be the other from GI to any other treating symptoms that we want to get a better drug for our patients so that they can live their best life while we're working towards that cure. Okay. I just went ahead and said that. I'm sorry I didn't, but this is how we're going to get there. We're working and we're attacking it from multiple fronts. So it's our laboratory, but we have a therapeutic development network that we are tapped into across the country. It's going to take innovation, collaboration, and a little bit of patience. So we're on it. We have a great team of folks working on it, but it's going to take a little bit of time. But we're very, very excited. Is the next one? There we go. Okay. So I'm going to shift gears just a little bit from talking about cure to our another priority, that's care. And care remains really an important part of our mission and our work. Delivering the gold standard of care has always been important, and especially for our 130 accredited care centers across the country. We want to ensure that all of our community, all of our patients get standardized care. So whether you're living in Connecticut or California, that same specialized, individualized care. And that's really what makes CF and the care team so amazing, is that they're able to provide that to our community. So thank you to those of you that are here tonight that work at a care center. There we go. Perfect. There's going to be changes in a care center model that'll be coming. These are just some ideas, because as we look at people that are healthier living with on modulator therapy, much different than folks that perhaps are waiting for their cure. So this is just what you're seeing on the screen, is an idea of the flexibility and really the more specialization we're going to require from our physicians and our care teams to look at how best, to treat that person. Because really, we were pretty structured. You go into your care center 4 times a year and you do these 3 things. And now there's so many different variables. So if someone's healthy and they're on a modulator, a different approach than someone that maybe is waiting for their therapy and has some lung damage. So it's a little challenging for us and for the care centers, but we're going to get this and create that optimum for the future. And I wanted to talk about, I don't know how many folks here are aware, but our crown jewel at the foundation is our patient registry. It's really allowed us to advance so much research. And we are in the process, it doesn't sound as sexy as it is, but it really is very exciting, of putting this on a more flexible platform so that we are able to bring in additional streams of data that we just don't have the ability to do anymore. And that too is going to help drive our research and what we learn from our community. So another very exciting. We are the driving force. We like to look at it. We talk about how much that we do, and I like to put it into buckets of cure, care, and community. In community, you know, we were just talking, I think Dawn mentioned, we continue to advocate right alongside all of you. Moments like March on the Hill, Teen Advocacy Day. We want to make sure the NIH and the FDA have the funding they need to keep going. But we've been there always advocating whatever it is that our community needs, and we're going to continue to support the community. We have programs like Compass that helps us navigate some of their needs. And we have programs like Community Voice, where we are actually listening to our community and really trying to meet any additional needs that perhaps we weren't aware of. So you're being heard, and I hope that you'll continue to bring, you know, your ideas forward through these programs and venues, opportunities. So in summary, and I know I touched on a lot, you know, 2024 has been a really great year. We have really seen a lot of progress in each of those three key priorities for the foundation. What's it going to take to get to the cure? Our best hope for a cure, and you've heard me say it tonight, is genetic therapies. They're more complex than anything that we've ever done. We also know this is going to be an expensive endeavor. So progressing, you know, a cure is so much more expensive than a modulator therapy. But we're bold and determined. And we have carefully mapped out a plan to spend $2 billion. And we're going to advance research and spend this money through 2030. And what I'm really proud and excited to share with all of you, so that you feel good when you're making gift or when you're going out to fundraise, is 90% of this is going to be directed to cure, care, and community, and 10% to operations like our human resource and all of that. So 90% of this $2 billion is going into our key mission. So that's amazing to me. And I'd like to continue to, there we go. We have a Chief Investment Officer, Jack Mailer, and he does amazing work. And right now, about 65% of the research that we're funding comes from our investments. Not the principal, the interest on the investments that he and his team are able to get for us. We need our field, the chapters across the country, to raise $100 million net every year going forward if we're going to be able to advance the research at the rate that we want to, because we know genetic research is going to be expensive. We know there's going to be a higher level of risk, you know, with genetic research, because some of it's not going to work. So different from the pharmaceuticals. So he likes to look at his twin engines and running a plane, right? We have this, but we still need the fundraising to keep going as hard as ever, because without that, we're not going to get to the finish line without all of you and all of our chapters. So that's $100 million net across the country. And then I want to just end today by saying just how proud I am to be a member of this wonderful cystic fibrosis community, a community that really refused to accept the word impossible. What you have heard this evening could not have been accomplished without committed parents and families who have helped thousands, and I've attended so many of them. I've attended thousands, but I've attended a lot of fundraisers to raise the money to fund specialized care, a dynamic registry, and the science that will forever change medicine. So I hope tonight, let's continue on this journey together. Let's make CF stand for Cure Found. When we partner, we have always come together and nothing has been impossible. And I hope we can do that moving forward to the finish line. Thank you so much for your attention. And now it's my pleasure to turn the stage over to Dr. Sam Pope. Dr. Pope is the director of the Marie and Raymond Beauregard Adult Care Center. And I'm going to give the stage to you, Sam.
All right. Thanks, Gia. Thank you guys for having me. Excited to be here. This is the longest I've ever made it into a CF event where I haven't shed a tear. I'll tell you guys, like, it's why I don't like to go to them. So I'm pretty excited to talk to you guys about this tonight. I get to talk about like some of the progress we've made, some of the science. I could really talk about this for hours. They gave me 15 minutes. I'm going to try to go really fast. But I'm really going to try to, I'm not going to talk down to you guys. We're going to go over a little bit about where and why we're heading in the directions we are with the genetics and why we don't have a cure or a treatment for certain mutations. And then we're going to talk about probably where the research is where we're going to spend this $2 billion to go. So with that, this, if you, as you guys know, or you can remember, the CFTR molecule in the cell lining is a transmembrane protein. It transmits chloride. It has a portion that's in the cell wall. It has a portion that's intracellular and then a small portion that's extracellular. And so within that protein, there's like 1,480 amino acids. So it's a very big molecule. There's a lot of ways that things can go wrong that will keep it from getting to the cell surface. And so if any of you guys have never seen this, I would bet you that most of you have seen this, because if you have any connection to CF, I would bet you have. This is the grouping of mutations that can occur that can interfere with the ability of this protein to be made correctly and then make it to the cell surface. And as you know, my care team knows, like, I like to educate people when I'm talking to them, and I'm not afraid to go there and talk about basic science. And so I want you guys to understand a little bit, at least, about what these things are and what these different classes mean, because it matters when we start talking about doing the hard science of figuring out how to fix specific mutations. So as it stands, the way genetics work, this is very basic, so all the physicians, I apologize to you guys in the background, but our genes are inside the nucleus of the cell, right? There's a mechanism that those are turned into messenger RNA, goes into the cytosol, the liquid outside of the nucleus of the cell. That messenger RNA is then translated into a protein, and that protein has to make it to the cell surface. And so the easiest way I've heard to make an analogy about this is that it's like a cookbook. Right? So there's a cookbook, it's in your pantry, that's the genes, right? So if you want to cook something, you can't take the cookbook out of the pantry. So you got to go in there and you got to write it down on a card, and so on a note card. So that's the transcribing it into the messenger RNA. So there are ways that could be incorrect. So you could transcribe the order incorrectly, like a splicing mutation. And so you could have an error there. You can have an error in transcription in some other way. So then you got to take the card out into the kitchen, which is the ribosome. That's the part of the cell that this messenger RNA sticks to and then starts to read the message and turn it into a protein. So there's all different pieces within that could end up being broken so that you can't end up cooking the meal, which is your dish is your protein. And so you just think about the steps in cooking that, taking it from a cookbook to making the meal, and all of those same things apply to turning a gene into a protein, and everything in between can be interrupted. And so we have right now good treatment for class 2, class 3, some class 4, class 6, but we don't have a lot for class 1. Anything with an X that you see in someone's genes means that there's a stop codon. So that means in this process of writing out the note card, something happens and there's a message in the cookbook that says stop here and just don't transcribe the rest of this. And so there is no full-length messenger RNA, there's no full-length protein made. Those are hard. And so we don't have a small molecule that can fix that. So we have to find some other way. Same thing way out there on the class 7, large deletion. So a big piece of the gene is deleted. And so that's not going to produce anything that looks like a normal protein. And then anything in between where there's missplicing. So when you make messenger RNA, the whole length of that thing, there's pieces inside it called introns that are actually taken out and in the processing of it. And so in a splicing problem, some of them stay there. When they're connected back together, they don't work correctly. So there's lots of ways that that process can go wrong, and we don't have treatments for that. All right, so next slide. So to back up a little bit, I want to talk a little bit about a lift track because this is very exciting. So, and I know that people know some of this information, but there are 2 pivotal studies that have been done that are phase 3 trials for a lift track. So those are the ones where we actually are looking at efficacy and not just safety. Both trials looked at people who had at least 1 copy of Delta F508. This is pooled data. Everybody who was in these studies actually took Trikafta for 4 weeks. So the baseline on these graphs, and I know these graphs look busy, but again, I'm a scientist. I got to tell you guys all this stuff. But the baseline is after 4 weeks of Trikafta. So this is what happened with people after 4 weeks. The primary endpoint was change in forced expiratory volume in 1 second. So people's breathing tests. And then the secondary endpoint is what happened with their sweat chloride. So if you guys haven't ever heard about sweat chloride, anything over 60 is consistent with a diagnosis of cystic fibrosis, not necessarily, but is consistent with 30 to 60 is in the intermediate range, and anything under 30 is considered normal. And so these 2 panels on the left show you what happened in the red and blue lines for people who stayed on Trikafta or were switched over to a lift track. And so as you can see, the FEV1s actually were flat for a year. And so that's great. And so that you can say that they're roughly equivalent to each other in terms of the outcome with regard to FEV1. But even more exciting, and what you'll hear more about, is the second piece of the panel. And so that's what happened with people's sweat chlorides. So if you guys don't know, when we started giving people Trikafta, like we all saw the clinical effect, but we could really tell using sweat chlorides who responded better, at least at the molecular level. So who was able to have this process of getting the protein to the cell surface and actually have some of that chloride get into the cell or out of the cell more effectively. You could tell very quickly because their sweat chloride would change. And about 20% of people who take Trikafta who are eligible for Trikafta have their sweat chloride normalize. So go down to 20%. It's actually 21%. But you can see that the 2 curves are actually different from each other. And so the new drug, Aliftrek, actually appears to correct sweat chloride more potently than Trikafta did. And so the 2 curves at the top are about 8 points different. And you can see at the bottom, it's about 2 to 3. And the little bars you see are the error. And so anytime you see something reported in a scientific study, you're going to see these little error bars. All right, so go ahead. So I just want you to look down at the lower right. So this is extracted straight from the trial. It was published in Lancet late last year. It was December last year. But these are the people who either got their sweat chloride down below 60 millimoles on the top part of the box in the green, and the bottom or the portion that got their sweat chloride down below 30. And so you can see that at the people who actually took the Aliftrek, 86% of them by the end of the trial were able to get their sweat chloride down below 60. And if you guys, any physicians who take care of patients, this usually does correlate with clinically seeing a response when people's sweat chloride comes down into this range. Like they usually don't have as much mucus. They typically do not exacerbate as frequently. And then there's actually, instead of 21%, goes up to 31% of people. So almost a third of people normalize their sweat chloride on a Aliftrek. Now, this doesn't correlate to outcome. Any physician who knows anything about clinical trials is going to tell you all that's not an outcome that we necessarily care about. But the hope is that the better we can correct sweat chloride over 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, like you don't end up developing bronchiectasis. You don't develop symptoms, signs of something that would be characterized as cystic fibrosis. And so the longer someone takes this, potentially at least, the better they are. And we do not have this data yet, but it will be coming out. It's always like the foundation loves to like bring this stuff out at the time of the meeting every year in October. But we are going to have longer term data with certainly Trikafta, and what we have seen anecdotally, and everybody talks about this, is like if you CAT scan people who've been on Trikafta since the beginning, which was December 2019, you will see that there is incremental improvement. And some of them, they don't have a flat FEV1. It continues to kind of creep up, and the thickening in the airways that you see on a CAT scan continues to slowly improve. And we have people who we have not seen the plateau yet. Now it's slow, they've had a big bump and then they kind of slow down, but it keeps going up. All right, so next. So from here, I'm going to speed up because, 15 minutes and we don't want to be here all night. So the other exciting thing was when Trikafta, or when this all happened, actually the exact same day that this paper was published about Alyftrek, there were a number of new mutations added to the Trikafta package insert. And next slide. And on top of that, 31 additional mutations were added to the Alyftrek package insert. And we had a number of patients in our own clinic whose second mutation, so beyond Delta F508, was included in this list. And we had one patient who this was a totally new treatment for them. They had no treatment before this and had one of these mutations, which was extremely exciting. And hopefully this drug will work well for that person. All right, next slide. All right, so going back to this, you can hit it again. So again, what are we going to do for these people who have nonsense mutations or missense mutations? These people who have splicing errors, these people who have stop codon mutations, and we don't have a therapy for it right now. All right, keep going. So the first thing I want to talk about is I'm definitely going to go through some of these slides. And if you guys don't know, I feel like some of our patients used to know the CF treatment pipeline better than me. Like they looked at it. People don't look at it like they used to. Like they feel pretty good. People are doing well, which is what we wanted the whole time. But I think it's important to recognize, as Gia said, how much work is being done with this. Like nobody has stopped, right? This is still going on. And so this is specifically the modulator corrector portion of the pipeline. So you can see there are the 5 available treatments at the top. But I want to specifically mention to you guys that all of the Vertex treatments that stick to the molecule, the protein, and refold it or help it fold more appropriately are all binding to the transmembrane domain. So the portion of the protein that crosses the cell wall. So there are 3 treatments that Sienna Therapeutics is looking at that all bind to different portions of the molecule. And so that's exciting to me because the more of these things we can add together potentially, the more people who can have a normal sweat chloride. And so, and potentially, again, have this 30, 40-year window where they have normal sweat chloride and potentially don't develop complications in the lung, at least, of cystic fibrosis. And so these are all in phase 1 studies, which means they're really in the early version of looking at safety, looking at different dosages. But there are 3 of them. And so we're not done looking at corrector, potentiator, like molecules to try to, small molecules that stick to and fix the defect with the protein for people who are eligible. And then there's actually, Southern Research has some very early work that's on the pathway looking at missense mutations. And I'm not going to get into all that again. We don't have time. Like we could talk about this slide for like 2 hours and all that's going on and like, and you guys get really sick of this accent. All right, keep going. All right, so I do want to talk a little bit about anti-inflammatories and things that aren't related to genetics or fixing the molecule itself, because I do think the anti-inflammatory medications are a little bit interesting to me. So there are 2 drugs that are in phase 2 studies, this Boehringer Ingelheim drug and then brensocatib, which I didn't pronounce anywhere near correctly, by the way. But both of these drugs are very interesting. The second drug, both of these drugs actually inhibit the exact same molecule. Actually, though, if you look in the pipeline, the BI drug says it inhibits cathepsin C, CAT-C, and the second drug says it inhibits like dipeptidyl peptidase, DPP1. Those are actually both the same exact molecule. All right, they're just called 2 different things. I only, like somehow I was going through this the last thing, I'm like, I think I feel in my brain that these are the same thing. They are. So both of these drugs are actually doing the same thing. They're blocking serine proteases from forming in neutrophils, which we think is part of the process, like the underlying fire that is burning inside a person with CF's airway that contributes to this ongoing damage and formation of bronchiectasis over time. And so if you can block this like neutrophil sort of activation, ongoing secretion of all the things inside neutrophils that are bad, that perpetuate this burning fire, you can decrease the inflammatory insult and then potentially decrease the destruction of lung tissue over time. The second drug, the reason I actually mentioned that is there is a willow and aspen studies. These were both in non-CF patients. This is where I get fast typing these things out. And the thing I was thinking I don't put on the page, which is what the bottom, it says phase 2 in CF with and without modulators. Willow was actually done with non-CF, but there has been a phase 2 study done in people with CF on modulators, off modulators, just looking at bioavailability and making sure that the drug still did the same thing in people with CF and people CF on modulators, and it does. And so that drug will end up going to phase 3 studies, and it also is probably going to be approved in August of this year for non-CF bronchiectasis. The FDA is ruling on that now. They said August 12th was the day, and I do think that that will come out as a new treatment, which is exciting to me. And hopefully the BI drug end up with something similar. But there are novel treatments that are going to come out that, at least in non-CF, have shown some promise to reduce the destruction of lung tissue over time. All right, genetic therapy. So this is like where it's at, right? Everybody's excited about the genes. We want to know what's going to happen with the genes. All right, you can go to the next one. So turns out after we sequenced the gene, everybody was excited and we're like, man, we're going to solve this, right? We're going to like fix this problem. We got the gene, you know, as soon as we started figuring out more and more ways that we could edit genetics, like tinker with genetics, we could produce our own molecules. We thought we would have this licked. Not so fast. Like this has actually turned out to be really hard scientifically to do. And the problem is, like, we've mostly focused on the top line of this, which is viral vectors. What that means is Mother Nature has made viruses for millions of years that are really, really good at infecting us with things, right? Like it can, man, those cold viruses love to hit us. And so we said, so if Mother Nature is really good at making these cold viruses that infect us, let's just take the genes out of the center of the virus and we'll put the gene in there that we want the body to make, and voila, virus is going to attack our cells of our lung. It's going to shoot this gene in there, and then the body's going to take that gene, turn it into the protein we want. We're done. Nope. Like, doesn't work that way. So it turns out this is really hard. Like, our body is really good at recognizing things that are foreign, and foreign invaders are killed off very quickly. And so when you try to do this with a viral vector, which people are still doing, and we've made great progress, but turns out viral vectors are really hard. So we spend a lot of time on this, and some things, like as Gia mentioned, we're going to spend time on in the future that aren't going to work, but the science is still done. It's never goes away once we learn. And so it was still important to do all that work, and we're making progress in that vein. Non-viral delivery systems are where it's at right now. And so in the middle, these lipid nanoparticles is really where things are in the pipeline right now that are advanced the farthest. All right, go ahead. So if you guys go to these top 4 molecules, these are all delivered in some way through these lipid nanoparticles. And in my crazy, like, Dr. Brain when I'm typing things, so I went through this whole thing, made this slideshow, sent it off to Jamie, and then I'm going through it this afternoon and I'm reading it and I'm like, I wrote LPN 3 times. Like, LPN is not lipid nanoparticle. It's supposed to be LNP, but you know, like in my like brain of like, God knows, like I wrote LPN and I didn't catch it, wrote it 3 times. So anyway, the ARCT-032, we're taking a full length messenger RNA that again is like the note card in the cooking analogy. And we're putting it inside one of these nanoparticles, nebulize the drug, gets into the cells of the lining of the airway, and then that messenger RNA has to stick around long enough to stick to a ribosome and then get turned into the meal, like the protein, and has to be able to traffic its way to the cell surface. And so we're making some progress with this. And so this along with the others are all in phase 2 studies with increasing dosing. Phase 2 studies, you're really looking at safety, efficacy is like a piece of it, but there are escalating dosages of these we're giving. And so RCT 2100, very similar. And then Vertex has their own version of messenger RNA inside a lipid nanoparticle, and is part of the Therapeutics Development Network. And I know Isabel Nuringer is a site in Boston. We are going to hopefully try to send a patient or two up there. But these three work in that way. All right. So what happens with the lipid nanoparticle? Our body, again, really good at finding things that don't belong. And so it's hard to make something that you will inhale that will then make its way into the body through endocytosis, this process where this particle is taken up into the cells of the lining of the airway, and that we don't kill it. All right. We love to just get rid of things like this, right? Anything you breathe in. If you look at a beam of light in the air, in the summertime, you can see all those little particles of dust and stuff that's in there. Like, we breathe that stuff in all the time, and our body is like an expert at dealing with all of that and getting rid of it. So getting this into the cell and having it not be killed is pretty hard. But breathe it in, sucks it into the cell. It has this chemically modified RNA that transcribes the CFTR protein. It's turned into CFTR, makes its way to the cell. And on the left is what happens now, which is the gene's defective, something is wrong, no chloride channel at the surface. All right. So the way these look, and like, this is my, shameless plug for hard science. Like, building these nanoparticles is pretty hard. And there's a lot that goes into them that is really cool. This is my ChatGPT chart, looking at like what all these surface proteins do and what these lipids do. But just suffice it to say that there's a lot it's not just, you slap this thing in some lipids and wham, bam, it gets into the cell. Like, this is actually really hard. And it's awesome that we have 4 companies that have made advances to get us closer to figuring out how to do this. All right. And then the last one I want to mention, the 4th on this list, is very interesting because it is not like the others. It is still delivered through a lipid nanoparticle, but it is against one specific mutation. All right, go ahead. And so this is one of these missense mutations, or splicing mutations. Remember, I told you guys, like, you read the card, and so transcribe things onto the card. And sometimes when you take the card out to the kitchen, things are out of order because you wrote them down wrong, or there's extra steps in there that weren't supposed to be there. So that's what these missense mutations are. There's these introns, cryptic exon, doesn't work. And so this thing actually goes in because this specific mutation leaves a piece of messenger RNA there that shouldn't be there. And so because of that, when you try to make the protein, it's not correct. It's misfolded, it gets destroyed, and it can't be fixed with any of the modulators we have. And so this oligopeptide or oligonucleotide actually binds to that piece of messenger RNA so that it isn't inserted into the final product when the trafficking occurs and when the splicing happens. All right. The other things that you guys will hear about, we're still working on viral vectors. CRISPR, I'm not going to talk about. I could talk to you guys about that for a long time. Airway basal stem cell transplants. I do think this is going to be something that you're going to hear about. Like, if we spend $2 billion, like, we're going to try to do this. So this is where you're going to try to, put stem cells in there that have normal genes that your body is going to, or we're going to take our own stem cells out, fix the gene, try to somehow inhale them, deliver them through the blood somehow so that they actually turn into airway cells. Again, this is not as easy as like what you guys hear about with people transfusing stem cells into knee joints and things. This is hard, but we're going to try to do it. All right. And the last thing I'll say is, it's not all about just hard science of the gene. There's a lot of research going on in CF, and I would encourage you guys to, be open to some of this because it's really interesting, and it's interesting because of its application to other disease states. And so if you look at like mucociliary clearance nutrition, mental health, physiotherapy, patient advocacy, insurance issues, there's a lot of things that we're researching, from the care delivery model, everything. And so CF, in a lot of ways, builds treatments and ways that we treat people for other diseases that is very useful. And then data analysis. I couldn't get away with talking to you guys without saying at least something about AI. So these top 4 platforms are all alphabets, like they've developed them all. But when you have an AI platform where you don't have to go and do the science that can help you exactly tell you how a protein is going to fold if it has a specific amino acid sequence, and then you can ask it what type of small molecule would help that protein fold correctly and do that all in a computer system, that is very powerful, because doing the science is like, we have our colleagues here from Vertex. Like for Vertex to find these small molecules, they had this robotic, like high throughput yeast screening system, like really hard. Being able to do this with machines is going to accelerate the discovery dramatically once it matures. And we are only at the tip of this taking off. Like you guys are going to hear, the number of AI tools within the medical space right now is just explosive. And so I think that that's going to make massive difference for not just our CF patients, but a lot of other people too. All right. One more. And the last one, this is my slide to remind you guys. So this is from Big Walker Lookout. I grew up in Virginia. Obviously, I didn't grow up here. My wife brought me here. This is near my hometown. It's down in the tip of Virginia. So from the top of this tower, you can see Virginia and 4 states. So West Virginia, Tennessee, Kentucky, North Carolina. But this is my slide to shamelessly plug, FDA funding. We need this money badly. And I do think people's lives are at stake, and it's easy to take a complete shotgun to wipe out federal funding for everything. Not the way to do it. So I want you guys to go forth. You can have whatever politics you have. This should be a sacred cow. This should not be touched. Like, if anything, we need to give more money for this stuff, because a lot of this discovery won't yield any results. Like, we're going to do a lot of hard science and we won't find out anything. But to go through what I showed you guys was like years and years of work. 1 million hours is 114-ish years. Like, the millions of hours that people spent to find all these things is just tremendous. And it has to be bought. Like, we have to pay for it. So anyway, with that, I'll be quiet. And I'm not going to introduce Frank. He's going to introduce himself. So.
Dope. Dope, 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 dope. Dope, 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 dope.
All right. Well, thanks to Gia, thanks to Dr. Pope for all the information and the updates. It's great to see the room full. I am the board president. My name is Frank Mangert. I took over for Bean Corcoran, who many of you know. If you were here last year or the year before, the year before, the year before, the year before, Bean has been around about 2 decades. So I am now the board president. I'm really honored to be up here and be a part of this event. A quick note, about 12 years ago, I attended a Finest event, and it was at Amaranti's. I knew nothing about CF. I didn't know anyone with CF. I had never even heard of it. And I was there to support a buddy who was being honored. So I showed up in support of him, and there's probably, people in this room that are maybe in the same way and who just watched all this and learned a lot about CF. And that was 12 years ago, and I got involved like immediately. And now I'm the board president. So it's great to be a part of this. It's great to see. And I encourage you, if you'd like to be involved, come talk to me. I'd love to have you on the board. We're looking for people to be part of Connecticut's Finest this year. So we're looking for honorees too. So if you know someone who would be a great honoree, we'd love to talk to them as well. So I want to just invite up my fellow board member, Mike Carbonetta, and Pam Chudzik, our associate director as well, associate executive director. And we're going to start to do some fun things, hand out some awards. There's just a quick note, when I call the award winners out, just come on up. I'll call your name, you come up, you grab your award, you head to the back, we're going to get a picture of you, and then I'll keep calling names out. So we'll keep this moving along, but come up, grab the award, head to the back, we'll get your picture. I want to give a shout out to Laura Matteo, who is running around. She's back there taking pictures of everybody. We appreciate you, Lauren. So the awards that we're going to give out tonight are pretty unique. They were created by 2 sisters, Tegan and Skylar Colella. They're 12 and 13 years old. And together, they illustrated a pair of lungs filled with images that represent their CF journey. So this is what everyone's been getting. These are really awesome and obviously tied right to the cause. So first up, we are going to recognize the Care Center. So the Care Centers, they're incredible service to the CF community. As you saw, the community and the cure, those are two big things. And the first one that we're going to recognize here, if you'd like to come up, Central Connecticut CF Center Pediatrics at Connecticut Children's. Can you come on up if you're part of that center, please?
Go, Michelle, fight for that white gold. This one for them good girls, great masterpieces. Styling, wildin', living it up in the city. Got such song with Saint Laurent, gotta kiss myself, I'm so pretty. I'm too high. Call the police and the firemen, I'm too high. Make a dragon wanna retire, man, I'm too high. Say my, oh, who I am, I'm too high.
All right, next up, we've got the Columbia University Cystic Fibrosis Center at Stamford. Okay, all right. Not here, but still recognized. The Marie and Raymond Bogard Adult CF Center at Hartford Hospital.
Don't believe me, just why? Don't believe me, just why? Don't believe me, just why? Hey, hey, hey. Oh. Wait a minute. Somebody put some nigga in it. Take a sip, sign the check. Julio, get the stretch. Harlem, Hollywood, Jackson, Mississippi. If we show up, we gonna show up. Smoother than a fresh drop.
Next up, the Yale University School of Medicine CF Center, the pediatric program.
You know who I am. Damn, about that money. Break it down. Girls hit you, hallelujah. Girls hit you, hallelujah. Girls hit you, hallelujah. Cause Uptown Funk don't give it to you. Cause Uptown Funk don't give it to you. Cause Uptown Funk don't give it to you.
And the Yale University School of Medicine CF Center Adult Program.
Don't believe me, just why? Don't believe me, just why? Don't believe me, just why? Hey, hey, hey. Before we leave, let me tell y'all a little something. Uptown, funk you up.
So next up, we're going to recognize the top 10 Great Strides fundraising teams of 2024. So when I call your team name, come on up, accept your award, and then again, head back. So first up, the #1 fundraiser was Sunshine for Scarlet. They are not here, but we're going to clap it up for them anyway. Also not in attendance is Team AJ coming in #2. And Paige's Purple Pirates is here. So let's give it up.
Yeah, funk you up. Uptown, funk you up. Uptown, funk you up. Uptown, funk you up. Jump on it. If you said it and flown.
All right, the next two are not in attendance, but Team Crowley and Brett's for Brandon as well. Thank you. The Brawny Boys are up next.
Don't believe me, just why? 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 Hey, hey, hey.
Anya's Angels is not in attendance, but All right, and the next three are all here, so we're going to clap it up for them. First up is Changes for Charlie. Nope, not here. I'm just kidding. That was a joke. Just kidding. But we're still clapped it up for him. All right, I know they're here. Team Landon. All right, rounding up the leaderboard is Strolling for Sarah. All right, so thanks to those teams and thanks for all your contributions. We appreciate it. Next up, we have the Rookie Team Leader of the Year Award, which is being awarded to two individuals who have raised more than $12,000 as first-time Great Strides leaders. Congratulations to Rick Jeremiah, Team Leader of Team Landon and grandfather of our 2025 CF Ambassador, Landon. And next up is Beth Flynn Gerritsen, Team Leader of Changes for Charlie and mom to Charlie who has CF. Not here though, but we're gonna clap it up. Next up is the Peer-to-Peer Award, which goes to Jennifer Van Maldergem. Jennifer's a team leader of Nuts for Natalie at West Haven Great Strides, and she took the Virginia Extreme Hike and Grand Canyon Extreme Hike and advocated for CF and March on the Hill in DC. Jennifer, congratulations. Oh, Rob's gonna accept on her behalf. That is not Jennifer for everyone. All right, next up is a Race to Cure Award. I'd like to present the Race to Cure Award to Joseph Rosano for competing in the Berlin, Germany Marathon and for being a part of almost every event that we do around here. Thank you, Joe. No, they couldn't be, although they couldn't be here tonight, we'd like to give a shout out to the incredible athletes on the screen that ran the New York Marathon and the CF Breathe team as well. So thank you to each of them. Next up, we have the Until It's Done Award, and that goes to Allison Moreau. Allison worked at Hartford Hospital for 35 years as the program coordinator and the Marie and Raymond Bogard Adult CF Center for 19 years. She previously served on the board and was instrumental in the great partnership between the CT chapter and the Connecticut's the Care Center. While enjoying her well-deserved retirement, she remains committed to the CF Foundation and is truly in it until it's done. Congratulations, Allison. Please come on up. Next, we have the Dedicated Volunteer Award, which goes to individuals who volunteer their time and their energy at multiple events throughout the year. We couldn't do these events without their help. So we'd like to call up Kate Hayes. Sorry, Kat. It's Kat Hayes. I'm sorry. I read that wrong. Julia Leonard. John Owens.
I got this feeling.
And the Give Back Girls. Next award is a local community award, which goes to Dave Shagru and the Ocean Beach Park team. For several years, Dave and the Ocean Beach Park have donated their event space, their food, and more to New London Great Strides, leading to effortless planning and cost-effective savings. We're so grateful for the support and generosity. All right, so we have a local event fundraising award that goes to DeFi at the University of New Haven. The Sisters of DeFi hosted the annual Dude event in support of the Connecticut chapter, and together with the support of the University of New Haven student body, raised over $6,000. Thanks so much, and please come on up. The Passion Fundraising Award goes to Brian Zhang. In his second year participating in the Rose Up virtual campaign, Brian was the Rose Up ambassador and raised $2,000. He's passionate about the community and leverages social media to gain awareness and spread the word about CF. Congratulations also on your acceptance to Stanford Medical School. The sky's the limit, Brian. Next up, we have the Commitment to a Cure Award, which goes to Liberty Bank. The slogan of Liberty Bank is "Be community kind," and community starts with all of us. We love their spirit and values, and they align so well with the CF Foundation. Dave Glidden, president and CEO of Liberty Bank, was a recent Corporate Titan Award winner at our Rose Bowl. We thank him for the sponsorship and the support, as well as the ever-present generosity that him and all the Liberty Bank employees give. Accepting the award on behalf of Liberty Bank is Adam Jamil, the Chief Corporate Communications Officer. Next up, we have the Outstanding Corporate Supporter, which is awarded to 3 standout companies who have each shown their commitment to the CF community. These companies are true models in charitable involvement and giving back to the community, and we applaud you for helping this life-saving mission of the CF Foundation. Boost Oxygen, please come to the stage. Next up, we have CBiz. And we have Seabury Hill Realtors.
looking out for a place to go. Where the people like music, getting in the swing. You want to
Next up, we have the Community Champion, which is awarded to Tim Fitzpatrick here today in the Quinnipiac University Public Relations Student Society of America. Tim is a longtime supporter of the CF and more than a decade and created his own golf event called the Gentleman's Cup, and he's raised thousands of dollars. Tim could not be here tonight, but we still want to give it up for him. Thanks, Tim. Here today raised nearly $800 through a pinup challenge in support of CF. They also couldn't be here tonight, but we appreciate their support. And the Quinnipiac University PRSSA hosted their annual Chuck-a-Puck event, raising $1,700. Participants bought a hockey puck and threw it on the ice for a chance to win a prize. Congratulations to Haley and team. Please come on up. Next, we have our In-Kind Partner Award, which goes to Fresh Point, Connecticut. Fresh Point is a proud in-kind donor that supplies fruit at each of our 7 Great Strides events across the state. We're grateful for their fruitful generosity for decades. To receive this award, we invite up Tim Scully. Next, we have the in-kind supporter recognition, which goes to Adams Hometown Markets and MasterCard. Adams Hometown Markets has generously donated hundreds of sandwiches to our Great Strides events and for decades. Their dedication is always treasured. And on behalf of Adams Hometown Markets, we invite Anthony Caponera to receive the award.
Just shoot for the stars. If it feels right, then you come on.
MasterCard generously donated golf balls for our golf challenge at TPC, a Paul Drury original, in addition to being a 2025 CF National Silver Corporate sponsor, which we thank them for their generosity, and invite Patrick Dwyer to receive the award on behalf of MasterCard.
I don't give a shit. And it goes like this. Take me out the tongue and I know you. Kiss me till you're drunk and I'll show you all the moves like daggers. I've got them moves.
Next up, we have the Commitment to a Cure Award, which goes to Matthew Deckinger, the Dr. Adele V. Deckinger Family Foundation. It's a legacy the Adele Deckinger left and continues to go on through generous donations to help our life-saving mission. Matthew Deckinger, your dedication and generosity to CF is always admired and appreciated. We thank you for the longtime support, and we welcome you to the stage.
With me, I'll make you believe. Got the key. So get in the car. You can ride wherever you want. It's you want to see it. I'm shipping here. Take it from here. Yeah, yeah. And it goes like this. Take me by the tongue and I know you. Kiss me till you're drunk and I'll show you all the moves like daggers. I've got the moves like daggers. I've got the moves.
Next up, we have the Teen Advocacy Day recognition, which goes to Clark Grady, Gabrielle Salatino, and Luke Sadalino, sorry, and Luke Sadalino. These young advocates met with members of Congress to share their personal CF stories and connections, and they urged delegates to take action on the Help Co-Pays Act and Pay Stub Act to protect the CF community. Clark couldn't be here tonight, but Gabrielle and Luke, we welcome you to receive your award. We'll do it. Thanks, Gabriel and Luke. I'd like now to present the Hero of Hope Award to Rose Mongillo. This award is given to an outstanding volunteer with direct DNA connections, without a direct DNA connection to CF. Rose walks in great strides, supporting none other than our 2024 CF star, Cece Sadolino. She was a Connecticut's finest honoree and raised over $8,000, and we appreciate her efforts. And now we'd like to recognize some of those who couldn't be in attendance tonight. For the Gift for a Cure, there's Ann Mock, the corporate champion, HM Insurance Group. For advocacy, we have Katie Area. So Katie is actually there's gonna be a little video of Katie. It's gonna be pretty cool. So we're gonna play that in just a bit. And then for outreach, we have Aaron Britton. So thank you. They couldn't be here tonight. We appreciate it. Also, our unsung hero, Syracuse Moving and Storage, our Great Strides partner, Jennifer and Ian McAllister, and our endurance partner, Nick Cullehy. And then rounding it out, we have our local community, Jimmy's of Savin Rock, our in-kind partner, Coca-Cola Beverages Northeast and Thurston Foods, Inc., the in-kind supporter, Chick-fil-A of Glastonbury. And we have Gelatissimo, Artisan, Gelato, and the OC Tavern. And if any of these awardees are joining us virtually, we appreciate you and thank you so much for being part of the community. All right. If I messed up your name, I'm sorry. I apologize, but I'd like to welcome back Dawn to the stage.
Thank you. Don't go anywhere, Frank. We have a little surprise for you. I think I'm on the wrong page though. Hold on one second here. I really don't need a script for this anyway. We really just want to give Frank an award. It's called the Themed Events Partner Award. Frank has been so instrumental in building out our finest program and event. And he has also just been a gem to us in what he has helped do to grow the Connecticut chapter and be there really for us every step of the way. And you just mean the world to us, Frank. And I know you have no DNA connection to CF, so the fact that you are so involved and now are our board chair, again, we just can't thank you enough. So thank you and congratulations on this award. Up on the screen right now, you'll see a beautiful painting by our beloved Paul Drury. Paul, we miss you, but we wanted to acknowledge tonight that 2 of these awards that I'm about to give, we're doing a print of the Paul Drury artwork that you see on the screen. So these last 2 awards are very special. One of them is called the Lifetime Achievement Legacy Award. It's my honor to present this to a family who is very special and has become like family to me and many of us. Meg and Joel and Bonnie Cohen, we appreciate your unwavering and unending support to the mission of the CF Foundation, and certainly always in memory of your beloved Jeffrey, who is their son and the brother to Bonnie. Jeff's legacy and spirit lives on, and his family truly is a role model of strength and grace and love in the way they've kept his memory alive and shining so brightly. For so many decades, the Cohen family has rallied their family and friends to join the Cohen Connection team for Great Strides. Again, I could talk about them for hours, but I am very pleased to give them the Lifetime Achievement Legacy Award this evening and for staying involved in the fight so that all the families and people with CF will have so much hope for the cure. Come on up to the stage, please.
Baby, I'm broken down. I need loving, loving, I need it now. When I'm without you, I'm something weak. You got me begging, begging, I'm on my knees. Needing you, just wanna be deep in you. Let me when you're away. Oh, baby, I don't care where you are. Just wanna be there where you are. I gotta give it one little day. It's stronger. Yes, please.
And last, but certainly not least, we have our Volunteer of the Year Award. Believe it or not, this person came to every single event. It started out where he started to come to every Great Strides, and then we were like, could you keep coming? And he actually then told me his goal was to help at every event last year, which I don't know if anyone's ever done every single event without missing one. So Ken, you're lifting and lugging and staying till the bitter end of every event. I mean, we could not do this without you. And he does this in loving memory of his cousin Sharon. They had a team called Team Chair Bear for many years in West Haven. And the fact that you have stayed involved and do so much, you really are a treasured friend and volunteer. We should take the t-shirt too. Can we have the t-shirt? We have made a t-shirt that says head volunteer. He finally got it. And it has a crown on the sleeve. And to wrap up the evening, congratulations, Ken. As we wrap up the evening, we have one more important video. Of course, I want to congratulate all the award winners and of course, all the sponsors and donors and friends and volunteers that are here and at home. But before we close out, another important reminder. Dr. Pope mentioned it, and we're going to mention it again. Advocacy is a large part of our path to a cure. And we have someone very special that is just, I don't even know what word could best describe her, but she really is, her heart and soul is just in it until we find the cure. And she has been an incredible advocate for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. So please turn your attention to the screen for an important message from Katie Arier. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Katie Arier and I'm truly honored to receive the Advocacy Award this evening. I wish I could be there with you all in person, but I'm sending my love from Israel. Like for many of you, for me this fight is deeply personal. My beloved mom passed away from CF almost 16 years ago, and my uncle is a 50-year-old CF warrior who's blessed to be thriving on Trikafta. I've been involved with the foundation for as long as I can remember, but advocacy has always been my passion. I started with Teen Advocacy Day when I was 13 and now join the big kids at March on the Hill. My advocacy is driven by one goal: to ensure that no one else has to lose a loved one to this awful disease. At this year's March on the Hill, the foundation emphasized how our incredible CF story, with the life-changing medications that have saved so many of our loved ones, including my uncle, and that could have saved my mom, would not exist today without the NIH and FDA. We must demand that Congress support their remarkable progress until we have a cure for all with CF. Advocacy is something that anyone can do. I encourage you all to take this easy but powerful step. Text FIGHT CF to 96387 to sign up for advocacy alerts and visit act.cff.org to amplify our community's voice. Thank you to the Foundation and the Connecticut chapter for this recognition. It's truly an honor to advocate alongside you. Finally, I want to express my deepest gratitude to each of you for the work you do on behalf of our loved ones. My mom always said we should strive to make the world a better place. You are making a meaningful difference, and I hope you're as proud as I am to be a part of this incredible foundation. Together, we will cure CF.
Katie will be back at the end of this month, and she certainly is making the world a better place and will continue to do so. I have no doubt. What an inspirational woman and an inspirational message. So to close out the evening, have a great night and let's cure cystic fibrosis together.